Would you, at long last, promote a law that would stop the debate over a woman's right to choose her own reproduction?
Well, I'm not sure that we could create a law which would definitively stop the debate, but I am in favor.
Well, the legal debate, in other words, the debate in legislatures and in Washington. Let's forget Washington. Let's say Vermont is, as you wish, an independent state. So forget the rest of the country. But this issue is a constant ping pong ball, where attempts are made to whittle it away, and then maybe a court decree comes down and takes some of what was whittled away back and gives it back to women who want to control their own bodies without people interfering with their bodies. Thank you very much. Is there any vehicle that you can foresee that would create a situation where the debate would end as far as changing any laws, such as creating a right, an actual right to individual reproduction?
Well, as a lawyer, I would try to do that. I support Roe v. Wade, and I support a woman's right to choose. Now, with Vermont as one of 50 states in the Union, I would, as a member of the legislature, I would try to guarantee that people in Vermont, women in Vermont, would retain their rights even if Roe v. Wade were repealed by the Supreme Court. And that is possible because the states still have the right to choose to give the women the right of abortion, even if there were not Roe v. Wade. But I support maintaining Roe v. Wade, and I also support maintaining a woman's right here in the state. Now, if Vermont became independent, I would support a Vermont-style Roe v. Wade that would guarantee a woman's right to choose here in Vermont also.
It seems to me that this debate about reproductive rights is, from the conservative end, always tries to impose a rule from outside the individual. And what I mean by that is, in the case of reproductive rights, it's the state imposing on individual women, if they choose to allow a pregnancy to go to 20 or 22 weeks, I believe is the level of viability of Roe v. Wade, which is a point at which the fetus becomes potentially an individual person who can breathe and live outside, or not so much breathe, but live outside the mother. Before 20 or 22 months, it does not have that ability, or 20 or 22 weeks, and is under the domain of the mother as far as whether its existence continues to the 20-week or 21-week point, or 22-week. Essentially, the fetus at that point is still part of the mother. It's not an independent living creature. It couldn't live outside the mother. So, but
yes,
they want to,
the 6-month point, there is a change that the fetus becomes more recognizable as a human. But
I'm talking about viability. The Supreme Court used the term viability specifically as their point. I thought it was a very wise decision back then. Stunning how wise it was. They say if it can live outside the mother, it has a right to continue to live. If it doesn't have a right to live outside the mother, it's up to the mother as to whether it will continue to exist.
Well, that's of course
past viability. It's up to, short of viability. Viability meaning the life of the fetus. That's how Roe v. Wade is. You brought up Roe v. Wade that you support, and that's what it says essentially. So
yes, that's a gray area there in the last 3 months. Yeah, for me, the important point is to give every woman an opportunity between the time that she knows that she's pregnant and the time that she would have an abortion, that she can make a choice. Mm-hmm. It's hard for me to understand how a woman could wait 6 months and then decide to have an abortion, she should decide in that first 6 months rather than
Before the fetus is viable.
yes. But on the other hand, I object to recognizing a fetus as a human being before birth. I think.
Or you mean at conception?
A conception.
Oh, even before birth, at any point? 8 months, 9 months?
When a child is born, that's when they become a human being, I think. Now, the gray area between 6 months and 9 months, we could have legislation which could control what would be done at that point. And I would certainly think it was reasonable to restrict abortions in that period. But that fetus is not a human being until they're born. So if, for example, the woman were in a car accident at the 8th month in the questionable period, I wouldn't give liability to the other driver for having murdered 2 human beings or having committed manslaughter against 2 human beings if, for instance, she were to die in an accident. So it's just absolutely unreasonable to say that life begins before birth, I think. But on the other hand, I'm opposed to abortion I'm opposed to all abortion. I think it's a bad thing and it should be avoided. But I am a member and contributor to Planned Parenthood, and abortions are necessary, and they should just be done in a reasonable way.